Hello and welcome. We're going to take a deep dive into what's in and what's out of our new health and movement science syllabus. So I'm going to unpack very briefly for you, if you haven't already had a chance to have a look at the syllabus and navigate our way through it to help you just save some time to really get your head around all this documentation, because we literally have, if you're following along on YouTube, we have some mountains of paperwork that we can use, but also just helping you make sense of it all. I know that many of you are busy with trials and that sort of thing. So thank you so much for joining me. We're going to unpack, first of all, what's out, what's actually not included. So we'll kind of get rid of what's not going to be in our new health and movement science syllabus, and then we'll focus on what's actually in, what's new, fresh approaches, and what I've been kind of considering and thinking about over the last week as we dive into this brand new syllabus for Stage 6 PDHPE. So I've got our handy syllabus, our current syllabus with me, and it is with a heavy heart that I share with you that a lot of our options aren't actually in the new syllabus. Now, obviously that is twofold, because we have a lot of crossover of our content that was in our current four cores of our syllabus. So a lot of that has been reshuffled, has been taken out, but the main ones that have been taken out are from our Year 11 course. So if you loved first aid is no longer in the syllabus. There is one very small dot point around movement and first aid situations, which is still in there. A slight connection in our new syllabus. So first aid has been taken out. Now we know that first aid is in our SLR course. It's in 7 to 10 PDHPE. It's also touched on in other areas of wellbeing and PASS. So it has been completely taken out of our course. Now there is no kind of element to composition and performance in our new health and movement science syllabus. So nothing to do with elements of composition and performance. We know that if you're in a dance background, that is definitely filtered through there, but there's no element of that particular option. And fitness choices, there are small links to fitness in terms of pre-screening, that type of thing. Obviously, improving performance aspects are included, but fitness choices is very much taken out. But of course, we have that to cover in PASS and also SLR. So if you loved that, then you get the opportunity to teach that and maybe include it into your SLR program of study if you actually took it out, because you had a lot of kids cross over. Outdoor recreation, although I loved as a student, but also as well as a teacher, having that option, unfortunately, it is out of our syllabus. Of course, if you teach SLR and PASS, you can then teach those elements in there as well. So that's for Year 11 in terms of what's out in terms of our options. Look, to be honest with you, rest assured that our syllabus hasn't changed a whole heap. A lot of things are still in there from Core 1 and 2, Year 11 and 12 PDHPE. So rest assured that much of our content is in there. A few little things have changed, a few little tweaks, but from the majority, it is actually still current. You can reshuffle and readjust a lot of your content and your most favorite teaching and learning activities that the kids always get the content and have that practical application. So please feel very confident in knowing that a lot of the stuff from Year 11 is still in our new course. Now, the one major thing that's not in there is around our content around health components, so components of fitness, as well as our skill-related components of fitness. That whole section has pretty much been taken out. So, if you liked that, or if you kind of like, that's a bit kind of 7 to 10-ish, it has been taken out. So that whole, literally that whole focus question has been taken out of the syllabus. And look, biomechanics is still in there if you love that. Or if you're like me and it challenged you slightly, it's still in there. So that's Year 11. Now, I'll go through Year 12 and then we'll talk about what's kind of new and what's different. So in terms of HSC, Year 12 stuff, from the outset, the majority is in there. It has been shuffled around a little bit for our very first core or content area 1. So a lot of that is still current in terms of our core 1 units. Social justice principles are slightly changed and kind of moved into connection to the Ottawa Charter. Ottawa Charter still has a focus, although from our first draft, it wasn't in there. It has now been put back in there when some adjustments were made. So Ottawa Charter is back in, but it's only a very small part of the syllabus. So that's still in there. We still have all of our priority health issues. A few of the names have been changed in terms of groups. Otherwise, aging population, healthcare, all of those things are very much included. And again, that whole focus on Ottawa Charter, it's quite minimal now rather than that big focus. In terms of core 2, factors affecting performance, that a lot of the content has been taken from that and put to core 2 or our second focus in year 11. So a lot of that's been shuffled around. And I'll give you guys a document if you're going to join us on Thursday night to help navigate these changes, to look at what's similar, what's different, what you can take back into SLR or put into PASS, and what you can move forward with for year 11 and 12 health and movement science. In terms of also what's not in there is our stuff on motivation, and I still need to do a bit of digging, but from the outset, motivation isn't in there as a dot point, although we'll talk about it when we talk about psychology and performance. So I think the idea of motivation is still embedded in the new health and movement science syllabus, but it's not a huge focus. We also have the acquisition of skill and performance. It's in there, but it's been reshuffled around as well. So a lot of the things have kind of been taken from our core 2, put into the second core of year 11, and just kind of been streamlined. Things that we would ordinarily connect with our, from our year 11 to our year 12 course have been pieced together, which I love. It makes a lot more sense. It's a lot more streamlined. There's not heaps of kind of crossover like it currently does have. Lots of great connections to things across that syllabus. Okay. All of our stuff on assessment and skill performance, unfortunately, is not in there. So like that idea with appraisal, that type of thing, that's been taken out. So look, again, that reliability, validity that often the kids got a little bit confused with, subjectivity, objectivity has been taken out. But again, if you do SLR or dance, you can obviously incorporate that there. Now, in terms of HSC options, a lot of it has been included in some of our options. If you love the health of young people, me included, because it has such great connections to CAFS, a lot of my students really loved that particular option if they were CAFS students who also took PDHPE. That was a great strength. So if you liked that, that is very much included in our new core 1 of year 11. So you'll notice that a lot of connections are there, focusing on some main issues for young people in Australia, some major health issues. We look at one in Australia, and look, a lot of those, there's lots of pieces that have been taken from our option and then put into core 1 of year 11. So that's a great inclusion, I think, because look, it's current, it's very much applicable to our kids' lives. If you teach youth for one of our category Bs for next year's HSC, you'll also be able to connect those points when obviously this new syllabus comes through in 2025 to make those really good connections with CAFS and PDH, the new PDHPE course, which is Health and Movement Science. Okay, sport and physical activity in Australia. Unfortunately, if you loved that, there wasn't a huge number of teachers still teaching that option. That has been taken out completely. There are no elements of that within our new Health and Movement Science syllabus. Again, heavily featured in PASS, so you can use those inclusions and those concepts in there. So that's another option that has changed a lot. That's completely out. We then have elements of sports med that you will see in our core 2 of year 12. So things like classifying injuries, soft tissue, hard tissue, assessment of injuries, all that sort of stuff is in. And one of the things I absolutely loved was the specific athlete section. So we have our children and young people, aged adults and female athletes. There's no elements of that at all in our new syllabus. So that's a bit of a disappointing aspect. I've got a big sad face if you're watching this live against that, because I love that part of the course. Don't ask me why, but I just had, I don't know, just connected with a little bit, I think. We then have some stuff around physical preparation, like pre-screening for fitness and physical activity. That element of sports med is in there, a tiny little bit, but all the stuff on sports policy and sports environment, environmental considerations. I love teaching that part. I've taught PASS for a long time, so I love that connection, but I know it heavily features in our PASS course, so that unfortunately has been taken out, as well as all of our stuff on taping and bandaging, which I loved personally, because that was always a great practical aspect to include with the kids. That has been taken out. There still is stuff on rehabilitation, which I love. That's a really good inclusion, I think, as well as return to play. They're kind of like not necessarily right next to each other, but they're very much included in the new syllabus. Now, in terms of improving performance, lots of great connections. It did pretty much connect really well with Core 2 anyway. There was a lot of crossover, so a lot of this stuff has been taken out of our IP stuff and been brought into our new HSC Core 2. So stuff on training, so types of training are now included in our Core 2 aspect, as well as training programs, that type of thing. Designing a training session, that's still in there. Again, I still haven't seen elements of overtraining. I'll need to do a bit of a deeper dive tomorrow, but that overtraining, yes, it's in there to prevent injuries, that type of thing, but that specific word, I can't see too many connections. Drug use is in there, ethical considerations around that. A little bit on technology, not a whole heap, but there have been some new inclusions with technology. Okay, so that in a nutshell is IP, that connection. Equity and health, great connections to equity and health. We look at one area in our new health and movement science syllabus, but there's not much of a connection to the gap in healthcare, that kind of thing in there, as well as actions and social justice and community health promotion strategies to move forward. So that's kind of hasn't been included. So in terms of Year 12, there are many elements of the stuff that the kids loved, from IP, from sports med, from health of young people and equity and health, that have been put into our Core 1 and Core 2 Year 12 content, as well as our Core 2 Year 11 content. So I love that. I love how it's really streamlined. It's very much connected to what we're teaching the kids. In terms of what's actually in, so new inclusions for our syllabus, there are lots of new things. Pretty much the major one, as you would have seen, is our depth studies, which is causing a little bit of angst for people. But don't worry, we have plenty of time to get our heads around it. I'll show you what I've been thinking of, but also let's work together on what that might look like, as well as our collaborative investigation, which again, some of you are just having a bit of angst around. So we know that there's 4 focus areas for Year 11. We have our health for individuals and communities, the body and mind emotion, our collaborative investigation, and our minimum of 2 depth studies. So that's that kind of area unpacked. And then in our Year 12 course, we have our health in an Australian and global context, training for improved performance, as well as our minimum of 2 depth studies. So look, it's those 2 elements have probably been the areas that a lot of people are a bit nervous about. But as I've said to you already, trust that bio, CAFS, dance, drama have been doing a collaborative approach for a really long time, as well as depth studies and that type of thing. So we've got your back, and we're going to be able to collaborate and share together with all of this stuff. The other stuff that I really love in the new syllabus, if you have heard me already talk about this, is the inclusion of sleep when we look at performance. I really love that because that's really relevant There's a lot of research out there at the moment around sleep for improved performance. So I really love that that inclusion for our new syllabus. Now, I'll mention this on Thursday, but I think, I don't know, there's no confirmation, but I think the names have changed in terms of Core 1, Core 2. I think it is Focus Area 1, Focus Area 2 for Year 11, Focus Area 1, Focus Area 2 for Year 12. And then each of the questions or the inquiry questions are content points. Now, that is just my quick summary of that with some of the, the syllabus support documents. It doesn't have a code. So again, if that changes, I'll let you guys know. But at the moment, I think it's like that. So content point 1, content point 2. If you're used to coding your syllabus, again, don't stress about that. We'll cover that as we navigate through. Okay, in terms of other new things, look, there's not a whole heap that is like stand out, like you're going to be freaked out about. Obviously, that there are some new things in terms of practical application, but I really love that our syllabus has moved towards knowledge, understanding, and skills with application of content. If you followed me a little while, you'll know that I really talk about this a lot with CAFS. So that practical application of our course, that very much shines in our new health and movement science syllabus. We get the kids to navigate the course, investigate through case studies and research, bring our content to life, which has always been the aim of our PDHPE syllabus, our current one. But I think it definitely, there's so much more emphasis in our new syllabus on that. And obviously that enables our kids to show what they know rather than just rote learn the course. So I think that's a fantastic inclusion. Obviously we have our collaborative investigation, which is going to shake things up a little bit. I know that has caused a little bit of anxiety for teachers, but as I mentioned, don't stress too much at this point because we're going to go through it together. There are some inclusions in terms of like research for particular areas, so keep an eye out for that. We have lots of great links to our current syllabus. One big difference is the approaches to health in terms of the models, so biomedical model, sociocultural, that type of thing, and obviously the biggest one on sustainable development goals. But again, you guys are used to stuff on social justice principles and Ottawa Charter, so that won't be too tricky for us to navigate our way through. And again, there's two practical applications for investigating in our Year 11 course. Like I said, the stuff on psychology is really exciting, I think. Obviously, that comparison to OECD countries other than Australia is a great inclusion, I think, as well, because it really gets us to think about Australia and our context and what that might look like for us moving forward in healthcare and those applications. What I love is also the inclusion of advocacy in alignment with health promotion. Now, if you're a CAFS expert, a CAFS teacher, you would know that we talk about advocacy a lot. So I think it's really great that it's included here for our new syllabus. So I think that's a really great inclusion because it has always been the case about advocacy and health promotion and trying to reduce those inequities. But I think just labelling it has made it really strong, a really great inclusion. I do love the new inclusion around technology and data. We know that technology is changing our world and the importance of data and that safe collection of monitoring and measuring, surgery, that type of thing. And then the importance and the emergence of some new technologies with artificial intelligence, that type of thing. And then digital health, so what that might look like and the collection of data and that type of thing. Obviously, I mentioned the sustainable goals. The words macro and micronutrients are included, but we know that that's kind of already in our IP stuff anyway. Look, from a general perspective, there aren't a whole heap of new things that are going to freak people out. So please rest assured that you'll be supported in all of this through me. Obviously, my Health and Movement Science membership is flourishing and continuing to grow. So if you are looking for a group of teachers who feel like you're part of a community, who you can bounce ideas off with, you can collaborate and share, I would love for you to be part of that. But my biggest skill and superpower is making really hard concepts make sense. So that is my area of strength. And obviously using all of my CAFS knowledge with skills and research and practical application, I'm going to use all those skills over the last 20 years to make our new Health and Movement Science syllabus really digestible, practical, and making sure we don't overwhelm each other and our students as well. So as I mentioned, there are some things that I'm a little bit sad about in terms of our options, but look, it is a fresh start, and I love that. I love that it is practical. The kids get to do a really big deep dive into some big picture concepts that we would ordinarily really skim over in year 11 and 12. We do get to take a deep dive through our depth studies. And look, I think it's really exciting. I know some of you are a bit nervous about it, but please rest assured that we're all in it together. We can't change it. I always kind of say that we have the control now to kind of make the syllabus our own. And there's a lot of flexibility in here, which I love. Often we have a prescribed syllabus that there's not much flexibility for, but there's lots of room that we can put our own strengths in, but also for the kids as well. So please let me know how you're feeling around the new syllabus. You can either comment here and we can have a chat about it, but also send me a DM, send me a message, send me an email, because I am all ears as we navigate this together. And look, I have lots of ideas up my sleeve and lots of things that I've already started working on around this new syllabus, and it's exciting. So don't stress, we're in it together. And if you would like to take a deeper dive, on Thursday night, I'm hosting a free webinar for everyone who teach Stage 6 PDHPE or the new Health and Movement Science, or if you're head teacher, or if you're already in our Health and Movement Science membership, you guys will get a separate invitation to that as well. But Thursday night this week, just for an hour or so, we can also chat about some things that you're thinking of straight away. And if you want someone to create resources around this, then you can tell me on Thursday night what it might look like. Thank you so much for joining. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.